The air in South Carolina clung to Cole Archer's skin, thick and humid, like a lie you couldn't shake. He sat in his home office, the hum of the air conditioner barely denting the late summer heat. Lines of code flickered on his laptop, but his eyes drifted to the window. Outside, the backyard was still, the old swing set rusted and forgotten. Inside, the house pulsed with noise, Lillian's laugh, sharp and bright, mixed with her mother Vivian's low, conspiratorial murmur. They were in the kitchen again, their voices a familiar chaos that Cole, at 38, had learned to navigate. Or so he thought. He rubbed his temples, the weight of the day settling in. A software consultant, Cole worked from home, pulling in enough to keep the lights on and the family happy. Lillian, Vivian, her lazy cousin Ezra, they all leaned on him. 8 years ago, he'd married into this loud, messy Southern clan, trading his quiet life for their whirlwind. Back then, he called it vibrant, alive. Lillian's green eyes and quick smile had hooked him at a friend's barbecue, and her family came with her, a package deal he'd embraced. Vivian called him son. Ezra bummed beers and clapped his back. It felt like belonging. But lately, something was off. Lillian's laugh didn't warm him anymore. It cut, like she was performing for someone else. She'd hide her phone when he walked in, her fingers quick to lock the screen. Vivian's jabs, our banker, she'd say with a smirk, landed heavier. Cole brushed it off, told himself it was just their way. They were family, right? Messy loud, but his. Still, a cold knot tightened in his chest, whispering, "They're taking more than you give." 2 months ago, Lillian burst into his office, eyes gleaming. "Cole, let's take the family to Bermuda. Somewhere epic." Her voice was all fire, the kind that made him say yes before thinking. He could have said no. The roof repair for Vivian's house had drained their savings, and Lillian's car payments weren't cheap. But he didn't. He nodded, swiped his card, and booked it all. Flights, a villa with ocean views, a yacht for the whole crew. Not just him and Lillian. She wanted Vivian, Ezra, and a few friends along. Cole didn't flinch at the cost. He wanted her happy. Always had. Now, though, doubt gnawed at him. He caught Lillian whispering with Vivian in the kitchen, their voices dropping when he passed. Last week, Ezra sprawled on their couch, grinning. "Bermuda's gonna be lit, man. Thanks for the free ride." Cole forced a smile, but the words stuck like thorns. Free ride. He stared at his screen, the code blurring. Why was he the only one carrying this? At night, he lay awake, Lillian's dark hair spilled across the pillow. She slept soundly, but Cole's mind churned. He remembered their early days, her laugh, her fire, the way she'd made him feel invincible. Now, her touch felt distant, her kisses mechanical. "You're imagining it," he muttered, closing his eyes. But the knot in his chest grew heavier, and in the quiet, he heard it. Something's coming. A storm was brewing, and he wasn't ready. Vivian's house reeked of fried chicken and stale memories, the kind that clung to the faded wallpaper and creaky wood floors. Cole Archer pulled into the packed driveway, his truck squeezed between Lillian's sedan and a couple of unfamiliar cars. The humid South Carolina night pressed against him as he stepped out, the buzz of cicadas drowned by laughter spilling from the open windows. He'd been to these family dinners before, loud, chaotic, with Vivian holding court. Tonight felt different, though. The air was heavier, like it was waiting to crack. Inside, the dining room was a circus. Vivian sat at the head of the table, her gray hair pulled tight, waving a wine glass like a scepter. Lillian, in a green dress that matched her eyes, picked at cornbread, her fingers restless. Aunt Ruth's laugh boomed, cutting through the chatter. Lillian's friends, Carrie and Beth, giggled over their phones, their whispers sharp as needles. Ezra was missing, oddly, but Cole barely noticed. He slid into the chair next to Lillian, kissed her cheek. "Big party," he said, forcing a grin. Her smile was thin, a flicker that didn't reach her eyes. She looked away, crumbling the cornbread to dust. Cole grabbed a roll, nodding at Vivian's ran about her neighbor's dog. The wine flowed, but he stuck to water, his gut already uneasy. Lillian's silence gnawed at him. Her eyes darted everywhere but to him, and the knot in his chest tightened. What's wrong with her? He pushed the thought down, but it clawed back. Then Vivian slammed her glass down, the clink silencing the room. "Cole, we've tweaked the Bermuda plans," she said, her voice sweet but edged like poison and honey. He set his roll down, wiped his hands slowly. Tweaked how his tone was steady, but his pulse kicked up. Every eye locked on him, the air thick with anticipation. Lillian spoke first, words tumbling out too fast. I invited Jonathan. Just for a few days. Jonathan, her ex-husband, the drunk who'd crashed their wedding rehearsal 8 years ago, shouting that Cole stole his girl. The one who'd shoved him into a table, leaving a bruise Cole hid under his suit. Cole's jaw clenched. Jonathan, he said, slow, deliberate, each syllable a weight. You invited Jonathan to the trip I paid for. She nodded, sharp and quick, staring at her plate. Before he could process, Vivian leaned forward, her smirk ablaze. And Mark's coming too. Lillian's high school sweetheart, you know. Carrie and Beth burst into giggles, their laughter slicing through the haze. Mark, the guy Lillian mentioned too often early on, always with a sly smile, testing him. Cole's blood roared in his ears. He turned to Lillian, willing her to look at him, to say it was a mistake. She didn't. She shredded the cornbread, her silence louder than any confession. Vivian sipped her wine, eyes glinting. Since you're not feeling it, Cole, we're giving your ticket to Mark. Ruth snorted, masking it with a cough. The room spun, not from wine, but from the sheer audacity. Cole's hands balled into fists under the table. They're kicking me out. My trip. My money. His mind screamed, but his face stayed blank. He leaned back, letting the silence stretch, a predator sizing up prey. Let's get this straight, he said, his voice low, cutting like glass. You invited 2 men my wife slept with to a vacation I planned and paid for, and now you're cutting me out. The words landed hard, stripping the room bare. Carrie's giggle died. Beth froze. Ruth looked away. Lillian's head snapped up, her eyes wide, panicked. You're overreacting, she stammered. It's just a trip. Overreacting. Cole's voice rose, sharp enough to crack the tension. You invited your exes behind my back and expect me to smile? Vivian shrugged, unfazed. Don't be dramatic, Cole. We thought it'd be fun. Fun. The word was a slap, and Cole felt it burn. He could have flipped the table, shouted until the walls shook. But that wasn't him. He was the fixer, not the breaker. Still, the betrayal sank into his bones, cold and heavy. He scanned the table, Vivian's smirk, Lillian's guilt, the other's complicity. Then he saw Belle, Ezra's girlfriend, at the far end. Her dark eyes met his, steady, not mocking. She shook her head slightly, a silent I see you. It was enough to keep him from shattering. Cole stood, slow and deliberate, the chair scraping the floor. Cole, sit down. Vivian snapped, her tone sharp, like scolding a child. He ignored her. His eyes locked on Lillian, begging her to speak, to undo this. She didn't. Her mouth parted, but no words came. You made your choice, he said, his voice flat but final. He turned, walked out, the screen door slamming behind him. Lillian's voice chased him, Cole, wait. But he kept moving. Vivian muttered something. Ruth laughed. Well, that was a mess. Cole didn't care. In his truck, he gripped the wheel, the world blurring with rage. Not tears, anger pure and raw. They'd planned this, laughed about it, poured wine while they carved him out of his own life. Lillian, the woman he'd built everything for, led the charge. He started the engine, the roar drowning out her voice in his head. They thought he'd roll over like always. They were wrong. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The house was a tomb when Cole walked in, the silence sharper than the chaos he'd left at Vivian's. He tossed his keys onto the counter, the clink echoing in the dark kitchen. The air still held Lillian's perfume, faint but cruel, mocking him. An hour ago, she'd sat at that dinner table, her eyes dodging his, her voice spitting, "You're overreacting," while Vivian carved him out of his own life. They'd invited her exes, Jonathan and Mark, to the Bermuda trip he'd paid for, then gave his ticket away. The betrayal wasn't just a knife, it was a theft, and Cole felt it in his bones. He flipped on the light, the kitchen glaring back, clean counters, a fridge humming, the table where he and Lillian once laughed over coffee. Now was a battlefield. His hands shook, not with tears, but with rage, a fire he hadn't known he could feel. I gave you everything, he said to the empty room, his voice low, raw. Lillian's face flashed in his mind, her green eyes, her smile that once lit him up. Now it burned. She planned this. They all had. Cole's eyes caught her phone, left carelessly on the counter. She hadn't taken it to Vivian's, a rare slip. His pulse hammered. He grabbed it, her passcode, his birthday, the irony stinging, unlocking a world he wasn't ready for. Messages with Jonathan. Miss you. Bermuda will be fun. Vivian, cold pay, don't worry. Months of texts. A conspiracy laid bare. Lillian's words to Jonathan. He's clueless, hit like a fist. Cole's stomach churned, but he read on, each message a nail in the coffin of their marriage. They'd laughed at him, plotted while he booked their paradise. He set the phone down, his breath steadying. They thought he'd break. They were wrong. He sat at the table, opened his laptop. The Bermuda itinerary glowed on the screen. Flights, villa, yacht, all in his name, his credit card. A glance at the clock. 10:47 p.m. Vivian was sharp. She'd call the agency by morning to lock him out. He had until midnight to burn it all down. His fingers flew, logging into the airline site, the villa booking, the yacht charter. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Each click was a reclaiming, a piece of his dignity snatched back. Booking canceled flashed, and Cole exhaled, the fire in his chest shifting to resolve. He wasn't running. He was fighting. His phone buzzed. Lillian, then Vivian, their names lighting up like warnings. He swiped them away, silencing the ringer. No explanations, no fights. Let them choke on their own lies. He sent a group email to Lillian, Vivian, Ruth, even Ezra. Screenshots of the cancellations, subject line trips off. No words, just proof. Let them scramble. The clock ticked closer to midnight. Cole opened a new tab, typed Lake Como, Italy. He'd seen photos once, blue water, green hills, peace. A one-way ticket, tomorrow's flight, stare back. His finger hovered over book. This wasn't escape. It was survival. He clicked, the confirmation landing like a lifeline. He leaned back, the chair creaking, and for the first time that night, he felt light. A text from Belle, Ezra's girlfriend, broke the silence. You okay? Lillian and Vivian planned this for months. I've got screenshots if you need them. Cole's jaw tightened. Months. Not a mistake, a campaign. He typed back, send them. Her reply came fast, chat logs mirroring what he'd found. Vivian's venom, Lillian's betrayal. It wasn't new, but it was fuel. Thanks, he replied. Belle was his only ally, her quiet support a thread keeping him grounded. He dialed Julian, his lawyer, the call cutting through the night. Start the divorce, Cole said, his voice firm. I'm flying out tomorrow. Send papers digitally. Julian didn't argue. Take care, man, he said, and Cole hung up, the weight lifting further. He stood, glanced around the house, his house, paid for with his sweat. Lillian could have it. He'd take his life back. The clock hit 11:58 p.m. Cole checked the cancellations one last time. Every link dead, every dollar secured. Vivian wouldn't outsmart him. He packed a small bag, passport, laptop, a few clothes. The Bermuda dream was ash, but Como was a spark. He looked at Lillian's phone, still open her lies, and left it there. She'd find it, and she'd know. He stepped outside, the humid air softer now, the cicadas a distant hum. His truck waited, engine ready to carry him to the airport. Lillian's voice echoed in his head. You're overreacting, but was faint, drowned by his own. You made your choice. Now I make mine. The door shut behind him, the lock clicking with finality. He wasn't their bank anymore. He was Cole Archer, and he was free. Cole Archer sat on a wrought iron balcony overlooking Lake Como, the water glinting like glass under the Italian sun. A week had passed since he'd left South Carolina, trading Vivian's venom and Lillian's lies for this quiet haven. The air smelled of pine and promise, a far cry from the humid weight of home. His espresso steamed in a small cup, its bitterness grounding him. He'd burned their Bermuda dream to ash, canceled the flights, villa, yacht, and walked away. Now, in this stillness, he felt the first stirrings of peace. But peace, he knew, came with echoes. His phone, silent for days, buzzed on the table. A text from Belle, Ezra's girlfriend, his only tether to the wreckage he'd left behind. Airport was a circus. You'd have loved it. Cole's lips twitched, not quite a smile. He'd asked Belle to keep him posted, and she delivered. Her message painted the scene. Lillian, Vivian, Jonathan, Mark, and Ruth, strutting into Charleston International in matching Bermuda Bash t-shirts, brimming with smug confidence. Vivian barked at Ezra to haul her bags. Lillian primped her hair. Jonathan swaggered like he owned the place. They reached the check-in counter, ready for paradise. Then the agent's words hit. I'm sorry, there's no reservation. Cole could see it. Vivian's face draining of color, her mouth flapping like a landed fish. Lillian crumbling, mascara streaking, sobbing in her hands. Jonathan cursing, kicking his suitcase until security eyed him. Mark, ever the opportunist, muttering, "This sucks," and bolting for the exit. Ruth tried to play peacemaker, but the crowd stared, kids pointing at the unraveling spectacle. Belle's text ended. "They're a mess. You won." Cole set the phone down, the espresso cooling. He didn't feel joy, just a quiet release, like a knot untying itself. The phone rang, shattering the calm. Lillian's name flashed, and Cole's stomach tightened. He'd ignored her texts, her voicemails, but this was different. Raw, insistent. He answered, his voice cold. "What?" "Cole, please," she choked out, her voice thick with tears. "Fix this. The trip's gone. Everything's gone. We didn't mean to hurt you." She was at the airport. He could tell. Background noise of announcements, Vivian's shrill complaints. "You can't do this to us." Cole leaned back, the balcony railing cool against his spine. "You invited Jonathan and Mark. You gave my ticket away. You did this." His words were ice, each one deliberate. Lillian sobbed harder, her desperation clawing through the line. "It was a mistake. I'm sorry, okay? Just come back. We need you." He closed his eyes, her voice dragging up memories, her laugh, her touch, the life he'd built for her. For a moment, he saw the woman he'd loved, not the one who'd betrayed him. But the chats he'd found on her phone, months of lies, he's clueless, flashed in his mind. "You needed my money," he said, final. "Not me. Goodbye, Lillian." He hung up, her cry cut off mid-breath. The phone went dark, and the lake sparkled, unmoved. Belle texted again. "Lillian's posting online. Says you abandoned them. People aren't buying it." Cole opened Lillian's social media. Her post was a tear-soaked plea. "My husband canceled our dream trip and left us stranded. I'm broken." Vivian commented, "He's unhinged." But the replies told a different story. "Why invite your exes? Sounds like he was pushed out." The truth was seeping through, cracks in their facade. Cole didn't comment. He didn't need to. Their lives were crumbling without him. He walked to the lake's edge, the cobblestones cool under his shoes. The hills loomed green and steady, a world away from Vivian's gaudy dining room. He'd been their bank, their fixer, but no more. Lillian's call lingered, her voice a ghost, but it couldn't pull him back. He'd chosen himself, and it felt right. At a small market, he met Isadora, a painter with dark eyes and a laugh like wind chimes. "You look like you're running from something," she said, arranging her canvases. Cole smiled, the first real one in days. "Maybe I'm running to something." They talked over coffee, her easy warmth a contrast to Lillian's fire. Isadora didn't ask for anything, just offer a moment. Cole took it, feeling a spark of what could be. Back on the balcony, he opened his journal. Day 7, Como. "They fell apart without me. I'm still standing." He closed it, the lake stretching endless before him. Lillian could cry, Vivian could scream, but they couldn't touch him here. He'd torn their world down, not with anger, but with choice. And in its place, he was building his own. Milan's golden light spilled across Cole Archer's balcony, warming the creaky wooden floor of his small apartment. 6 months had passed since he'd left South Carolina, since Lillian's betrayal and Vivian's smug dinner table had cracked his world open. Now at 39, he stood in a new city, a new life. The divorce was final, the papers signed digitally from Lake Como, where he'd first tasted freedom. Milan was his home now. Narrow streets, bustling cafes, a pulse that matched his own. He wasn't running anymore. He was building. Cole sipped coffee, the bitter roast steadying him as he watched kids chase a soccer ball below. His laptop hummed nearby, freelance coding projects keeping him afloat. No more carrying Lillian's family. No more Vivian's jabs or Ezra's mooching. He'd been their bank, their fixer, but he'd cut the strings. The thought didn't sting anymore. It felt like truth. A letter slid under his door, the soft scrape pulling him from his thoughts. He froze, recognizing the handwriting, Lillian's. His chest tightened, not with pain, but with the weight of what was. He picked it up, the envelope thin, her script shaky. Inside, her words spilled out, "Cole, I was cruel. I let Mom and Jonathan pull me into games I didn't see. You didn't deserve this. I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk, A phone number followed, smudged as if she'd hesitated. He read it twice, her voice echoing. Her plea at the airport, "Fix this," now softened by regret. But it was too late. Cole sat at his small table, the letter in hand. He saw her, green eyes, fiery laugh, the woman he'd loved for 8 years. But he also saw her silence at Vivian's, her text to Jonathan, "He's clueless." She wasn't evil, just weak, chasing her own desires while he paid the price. Her apology was real, but it wasn't for him. It was for her guilt, her loss of the life he'd funded. He folded the letter, slid it into a drawer. No reply. He'd forgiven her, not for her sake, but for his own peace. He wouldn't go back. His phone buzzed. Belle, his lifeline from home, texted, "Lillian's with Vivian now, barely posting. Jonathan's in jail, fraud. Mark's gone. They're done." Cole exhaled, the update a final thread snipped. Lillian's social media had quieted after the airport fiasco, her abandoned post buried under questions. Why your exes? Vivian's rants faded too, her influence shrinking without Cole's wallet. Jonathan's arrest didn't surprise him. Mark's disappearance fit his cowardice. Their world had collapsed, and Cole stood tall. He walked to the balcony, Milan's hum below. 6 months ago, he'd sat at Vivian's table, betrayed, his ticket given to Mark. He'd canceled their trip, booked Como, called his lawyer. Each choice was a brick in a new foundation. Now, he worked for himself, lived for himself. The knot in his chest was gone, replaced by something lighter, hope. Isadora's laugh broke his thoughts. She leaned against the balcony railing, her dark eyes catching the sun. They'd met in Como, her painter's spirit a spark he hadn't expected. Now in Milan, they were growing, slow, steady, real. "You're quiet today," she said, nudging him. "Good quiet or bad?" Cole smiled, her warmth a contrast to Lillian's fire. "Good," he said. "Really good." She didn't push, just stood beside him, her presence enough. With Isadora, he didn't have to fix anything. He could just be. Later, he opened his journal, pen scratching. Milan, day 180. They fell. I rose. I was their bank, now my home. He closed it, the words anchoring him. Lillian's letter lay in the drawer, a ghost he'd let rest. Vivian could scream, Jonathan could rot, but they couldn't touch him. He'd torn down their game, not with rage, but with resolve. The city glowed, its lights a map of possibility. Cole leaned on the railing, Isadora's hand brushing his. He thought of Vivian's dinner, Lillian's silence, the moment he'd walked out. He'd bought their tickets, planned their dream, and they'd stolen it. So he'd taken it back, canceled it all, chose himself. Now, in Milan's embrace, he breathed free. The sun dipped, painting the sky gold. Cole Archer was whole. Not loud, not vengeful, but alive. And that was enough.